Hello, hello. Welcome to Season 2, Episode 17 of the Traditional Legend Show. I'm Brandy, and I am with John at Boxwood House in Snowtastic, Romney, West Virginia.
Snowtastic.
Let's talk about some legends.
Yes, it is. And let's talk about some legends. Let's go down to Florida. Yes.
Our prerequisite, orange juice.
I should have mentioned to Brandy to put in some vodka in here, but oh well.
We have telepathy.
Did you put rum in there?
Ooh, rum would have been better, wouldn't it?
But did you put something in? She poisoned me, people. I'm sorry. I'll be...
Then you'll be the ghost with the most, babe.
The ghost of the most. Still talking about Florida.
Florida.
So,
my home stomping grounds.
First and foremost, let's talk about the elephant in the room. The Florida man.
Florida man.
Now, this was interesting, folks. Interesting.
Yeah.
So, you know, when Brandy sent over the names of the things that we're going to be discussing, the theme. Mm-hmm. I was like, oh, yeah, Florida man. Yeah, we all know about Florida man.
We all know about Florida man.
But digging into it.
You didn't know.
It's like, what?
There's more to it than you knew. Because me, growing up there, I left in the early 1990s. I left Florida. And so when this whole Florida man thing came out, I'm like, what the fudgy doodles? What's Florida man? I had no idea. So this wasn't a thing.
Newspapers, Florida man, blah, blah, blah.
Right. And this is what has really added to the perception that Florida is absolutely insane.
Yeah. Yeah. And so it goes back a long time. A long time before even the United States was even a thing.
Wait, what?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
No, the whole Florida man only started in 2013.
No.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't.
Okay, I got to hear this. I got to hear this because this was not a thing.
Okay, so Florida.
Right.
It was exchanged by the Spanish. And then given, it was plagued by pirates and
of course,
privateers and all that stuff, runaway slaves and tribes and all that stuff.
Yeah, and Andrew Jackson, jerkface, butthead, and that's as rude as I'm going to get on air.
So when the British occupied Cuba in 1762 as part of the 7 Years' War, Spain actually sacrificed Florida to get that back from Britain. Mm-hmm. Okay. Then, the British had trouble attracting people to come to Florida.
Right.
All right. So, and this then, the American Revolution happened and Britain was like, here, Spain, you can have it back. You can have Florida back. We don't want it. All right. So then... the war ended, and then Florida achieved statehood in 1845. Mm-hmm. And less than 2 decades later, it became the third state to secede from the Union and join a confederacy.
Yep.
So, Florida's always been a redheaded stepchild for a while.
No, that is absolutely true. And... one of the things, especially native Floridians, one of our biggest issue is snowbirds.
Yep. So, fearing the loss of residents to Florida because it started becoming a big thing. Mm-hmm. That Florida was like the go-to. The state actually, when it became a state, and after the Civil War and all, right, they started putting together some really good programs to entice people to come down.
Oh yeah, that's part of how my family got there. We became farmers. There was a lot of land there, and I know people are like, "Oh, well, what can you grow in that sandy?"
So anyway, because of this, a lot of other states were pissed off at Florida. Because they're like, our people are leaving and going to you. So what they do?
Floridians don't like it either.
So what they do? They started running the gamut on Florida, like misinformation. Like we're talking, the water's unsafe to drink, meat was difficult to find, alligators were bloodthirsty reptiles, and then a newspaper reporter in 1883 quipped that the common exchange of a Florida man has an alligator farm should instead read a farm of alligators has a Florida man.
Oh, that's hilarious.
So
okay, now that in and of itself, that does tie into the modern urban legend of Florida man.
Yeah.
So the way it looks is that there is a singular dun da da, I'm Florida man, but there's not.
And most of these findings that I did get off of, I believe was a New York Times article that wrote about the Florida man.
The back history.
Yeah, the back history.
Well, so the modern legend of it is, it started in actually 2013.
Yep.
The whole modern Florida man. And this is because specifically in Miami, the freedom of... Maybe I did put a little something in here. I'm just saying. So the Freedom of Information laws in Florida made it very easy for journalists to acquire information about arrests. So they would run these headlines of Florida man arrested for this. Florida man did this. And they were just indicating different perpetrators.
Yep.
But there was a meme that began in 2013 on Twitter at Florida man. Okay. And this person was putting up all these different newspaper articles, and hey, society being what society is, it just took on a life of its own, and people began thinking of Florida man as a singular,
kind of like Chuck Norris.
Yeah,
Chuck Norris jokes.
Exactly. So they started thinking it was a singular individual that did all these things in Florida.
Then that goes to the mass, not hysteria, but the mass belief.
Oh, absolutely. You repeat a lie long enough and it becomes the truth, and anyone who ever worked with me when I worked in Myrtle Beach at Danskin, there was a thing that they were going to put me in a flesh-colored unitard, send me around with a sign on my butt saying, "Follow me to Danskin." I never actually did it, but we joked about it so much that it became within our circle an urban legend that I actually did it.
Yep.
And some days the legend went, "Oh my God, she had so many people following her right back to the store." And it's like, it didn't really happen.
That's awesome.
But this is how urban legends really begin,
Exactly.
It takes one person. Now, do not get me wrong. Florida's a little crazy, because, okay, one, you do have a very rich blending of different ethnic cultures.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Okay, anywhere from the Seminole Indian to the Spanish to the Cuban and Puerto Rican influences.
Yep.
You have the snowbirds coming down from up north. Let me tell you, this is why I talk like this and I say Florida, okay? Because we get so many freaking snowbirds down there. Listen, don't feed the gators, because if you do, I'm not going to feel sorry for you when Fluffy goes missing. I'm just saying.
Fluffy goes missing.
It happened so many times. So many times. It's like, you don't feed the alligators.
Exactly.
This is how these crazy people ended up with alligators in the sewer up in New York.
Yeah.
Because these insane people, and Floridians are crazy. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Hey, let me go take a baby alligator that I found out a fucking nest and take it home to New York.
Exactly. So you have all of that. Plus, you have the very deep-rooted, everybody thinks of Florida, Miami, Disney, things like that. But I came from the swamps of Florida, which is a lot is far more akin to the bayous of Louisiana and down in southern Georgia and Alabama.
Mixed with a little Amazon rainforest.
It's very, very true. It's very, very true. So, yes, there's this rich blending. It's, hey, we're a soup down there, y'all. And on top of that, it's hot. It's hot, okay? It's hot. It's muggy. It is steamy. And let me tell you, ain't nobody gonna want to move.
Plus, all of a sudden, this hurricane came through and destroyed a reptilian farm, and all these boa constrictors, anacondas, pythons got released into the wild.
On top of that, you had people coming in, cargo ships.
Yep.
And these exotic
snakes,
insects, snakes, reptiles, things like that would end up leaving with the cargo.
Prime breeding ground, prime location to live.
And it happens. It happens.
Yep. So, yeah. So it's
Florida. It is a very rich melting pot of culture and those cultures' superstitions. And I'm not going to lie. Florida, you either love it or you hate it. I may be in West Virginia, but Florida's still my home. I will still say I'm a Florida girl. And I still say, and you probably caught this, I still say we. I'm including myself in this. We.
So, we're talking about, stinkiness and everything like that.
Stinky. Yes.
So let's talk about the skunk ape.
The skunk ape. Here's the thing. The skunk ape, it was never a question of, does it exist?
Yeah.
Growing up, it was never a question of that. It was a question of, when are we going to come across it?
Well, yeah, there's a lot going on there as far as, Bigfoot.
Right.
Bigfoot, Sasquatch, whatever you may call it.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like anywhere else. It's just like any humans.
Right.
There's people living in Florida. Well, duh. Well, there's Sasquatch living in Florida.
So, here, let's take this back a little bit. All right.
Yep.
I mentioned Andrew Jackson. You mentioned escaped slaves. Okay.
Yep.
Florida was Spanish territory, plain and simple. Before Andrew Jackson became president, this racist jerk face of a man, very angry man, went after escaped slaves and Seminole Indians, okay? Because he was racist. He was a racist jerk face. And the Seminole actually absorbed these escaped slaves into their tribes, okay? In 1818, it was only one of the times, Andrew Jackson invaded Florida, a Spanish territory, without permission in order to fulfill his racist bloodlust. And he almost created a war with Spain because he did that. Well, it just so happens that 1818 was the first reported skunk ape sighting.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So I'm just saying maybe he's a baboon's butt. Yeah. But, let me go back to the Seminole because I have a point. Stay with me. I have a point. So the Seminole, they ended up hiding out in the Everglades. Ultimately, as time went by and they were trying to push Native Americans further west, they hid out in the swamps of the Everglades and they couldn't be found. So my point is, we all know the skunk ape can hide in the swamps of Florida.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
We all know that. So anyway, now that my neurodivergent rant is over.
So one of the big things that is down there right now for the skunk ape is the skunk ape research headquarters down there in central Florida. Yeah.
That is so super cool. Does it say what town?
It's no. It was like no, it wasn't. I can't remember off the top of my head. Let me
look it up. Look it up. So the local newspaper in 1818, a witness said that they saw a man-sized monkey in Apalachicola, which is, I'm trying to think. I think it's west of Pensacola. It's
Okapi.
Right there along the
Okapi.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it's So 15 miles south of I-75.
Okay, so it's up in that area.
Yep.
Well, it makes sense because the first skunk ape sighting was sighted along the Panhandle at at the beach. It was foraging for food, and it took off and hid behind some hay bales. And it was up in Apalachicola. And like I said, Pensacola is just east of Apalachicola, so it's just right there along the coast. Okay. To give you a little more, where the heck is Apalachicola? It's west of Pensacola. But I do find it funny that the first reported sighting was in 1818, which coincides with Andrew Jackson's invasion. And let me play devil's advocate here, because we all know I am a true believer of all of this.
I know where you're going with this. Okay, go ahead.
I don't know if you do. Now, one of the things early native tribes in Florida actually wore Spanish moss as clothing, as body coverage. So, all right, let me play devil's advocate here. Maybe someone was dressed up. Maybe they were trying to...
Yeah, that's where I was going with it.
Yeah.
Because, we talked about up in Maine. We talked about in Massachusetts. We talked about all those locations where there's legends of monsters the cryptids up there that may have Native Americans going, we don't want you in here. We're going to scare the crap out of you.
Exactly. And then you have that putrid smell. If you have ever been in the swamps, let me tell you, it is not hard to find a putrid smell. Now, if indeed someone did Spanish moss, God bless you, because they have red bugs or chiggers.
Oh, God.
And those get up under your skin. And
Yeah.
So God bless you.
I've seen them several times. Actually, I saw them in New Jersey, too.
What? The red bugs?
Yeah, the red
Woo.
bugs. Yeah.
Well,
during the summer.
Now, I have said that, but according to the book, Oklahoma Seminoles, Medicines, Magic, and Religion, they do have a creature, the skunk ape. He carries a wooden club made from a branch from a broken tree, and he's called Kapkaki.
Kapkaki?
Yeah. And it smells like the smell of a stagnant, muddy pond.
Okay.
Now,
all right, makes sense.
Right. Now, on the one hand, they say it's like a 5 foot tall baboon-looking thing, man-sized. All right. Yeah. So, okay, back then that was man-sized, but if you're dealing with early Native Americans, they're a little bit taller than that. Just putting that out there.
Yeah, but then again, there could be multiple types of these Sasquatch or Bigfoot type creatures,
which we have talked about multiple times. Pennsylvania's albatwitch is between 3 and 4 feet tall.
Yep.
So maybe it is a diverse species, because even if you look at the human species, one of the first humanoids or hominids or what have you. I'm not a paleoanthropologist or anything like that, so forgive me. But one of the first humanesque beings we learned about was Lucy, and she was not even 5 feet tall. She was like 3 feet tall. Yeah,
but also, this really rocked my brain, because it just came out just recently. I think like over the year, where they were saying that the humanoids were actually alongside of Neanderthals.
Yes, they are finding. So they're discovering that.
Why can't the Sasquatch or Bigfoot be a Neanderthal?
Exactly. And I just saw a reel recently. 2 scientists. They were in a jungle somewhere, and they took a photograph of an animal that they thought had been extinct for 140 years, hiding in the jungle. You literally don't know. And one of my key theories is, I'm a historian. I'm not an archaeologist. I'm not an anthropologist. I'm interested in ancient and Paleolithic, but people, science, modern science, oh, well, people have only been here this long because we've only been able to find human remains or human-esque remains.
Yeah.
Okay, but what I do know from archaeology is that as you dig, you have different layers of strata. Those are different time periods. Maybe we're just not finding these things because they're so deep. And secondly, even in the Gulf of Mexico, there was a huge deluge, and there are caves in there with remains that are like thousands of years old. So there's too many question marks.
Yeah, definitely.
That we don't understand to be able to definitively say, no, it is like this. These are species that do or do not exist, like the skunk ape.
Yeah, yeah.
And Sasquatch.
But then, like, yeah, Sasquatch, skunk ape, Bigfoot, they're all Albatwitch, they're all the same.
I do believe that they are all different
the
variations of the same species. I mean, hello, you have apes, you have orangutans, you have capuchin monkeys. You have all these different ones. So it makes sense. Now that we've gone off on our neurodivergent tangent, you're welcome. If you're still listening, thank you.
So let's talk about our last little spookiness of Florida.
Cassadaga.
Well, let's talk about a little Saint Augustine too. Because it actually is right around that area. But St. Augustine's really cool. Yeah, I'll just make a little quip on that.
Yeah, if you haven't been, just go.
It's really cool.
Just
Pirates
go.
And Spanish
and Fountain of Youth.
Fountain of Youth, yeah, it's all really cool stuff.
The Fountain of Youth.
Really cool stuff.
But Cassadaga,
Devil's Chair.
Yeah, well, Cassadaga is much like Lilydale. It is a town of psychics, mediums, and spiritualists. This is where the spiritualism movement really took off in Florida. And I have to say, my great-grandparents were spiritualists. They were early spiritualists.
So, yeah, and this all started in the Victorian era. With
Victorian to Edwardian.
Yeah, with cemeteries often laid out like, parks.
And then you would have a cement chair that was meant for mourning.
Yeah.
Have a seat, have a cry.
Then the kids got a hold of it. And we're like, you want to sit in the devil's chair, don't you?
Exactly. Now you go to a cemetery or a graveyard and you have a bench.
Yeah, you have a bench.
Back then you had a very ornate chair.
But then the kids are like, I double dog dare you to sit in the chair. The devil's chair.
Exactly.
So, yeah, this makes a lot of sense, with it being Cassadaga, with it being a spiritualist camp, with it being very open as far as energy and bringing in together all this energy throughout the world.
I have not been to Cassadaga. Born and raised in Florida. I've never been to Cassadaga.
We're going to have to go. We've been to Lilydale.
Right, we've been to Lilydale.
Yeah.
We've been to St. Augustine.
That was a really cool location, except for when we left Lilydale and the surroundings was a little weird. But anyway, we won't go there. But let's just say we were at a bar and everyone looked at us like we were like, we had four heads. So the Devil's Chair, Cassadaga, it's in Cassadaga Cemetery.
Okay, so they claim that if you leave a can of beer on the chair overnight, you'll come back and the beer will be gone, whether the can is open or not. Okay, it'll be gone. Now, there are some people that say if you're brave enough to sit in the chair,
drink the beer,
and stay there like until midnight, you got to get to the witching hour. The devil himself is going to appear.
But he went down to Georgia, didn't he?
He lost his golden fiddle to some hillbilly down in Georgia.
I know, right? Well, since he's down there, you might as well come over the chair,
That's true. He's like, well, maybe he needs to sit down and mourn the loss of his fiddle.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
That's all I can think. But I did want to actually close out with this because I think it's absolutely beautiful.
Go for it.
According to the teachings of spiritualism, it's a science, philosophy, and religion based upon the principle of continuous life. And I just think that's very beautifully
so it's a basis
said.
of reincarnation.
Yeah, that's the principles taught by the people at Cassadaga. Spiritualism has no dogma, no creed. It's just a simple set of principles to help guide our lives.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
And I think that's absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely beautiful.
Because we looked into this when we had the museum, and spiritualism and the spiritualism movement, and a lot of it was focused around the phonies and the frauds. But
of course, because they're the ones that are going to get the most press.
Yeah, yeah. But why not? Why not enhance any religious undertaking? Whether it be monotheistic, polytheistic, or or energy beliefs,
Right. So I think Ricky Gervais, he is a professed atheist, but he's also a humanist. He believes in humanity. And I think that's beautiful. Because in the end, we're all going to end up in the same place, 6 feet under.
Yeah, yeah. Well, our meat suits will.
Right. But that's a whole other story.
That's a whole
other story.
Meat suits and energy related to the meat suits, and that's my whole belief on it is you're a meat suit and you're just being driven around by this energetic being, and which is your conscience, and
we're in a sim.
Yeah, we're in a sim. Yeah.
We're in a sim.
But it's all good. It's all good. So next week,
Allah freaking Bama.
So as always, please remember to rate, review, subscribe to, or follow this podcast on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. Did we have any comments or suggestions over the week?
No. Y'all are slacking.
Yeah, please let me know, or let us know if you have any suggestions, any questions, any comments. We would love to put them on the show. But with that said,
I'm Brandy.
I'm John. Have a great day.
Drink your orange juice.
Yeah.